At some point in life, we all experience loss, and while everyone grieves differently, for some people that loss can leave them questioning everything, including purpose, faith, and what comes next. After unexpectedly losing an uncle, our next guest spent years living with the fear of death and searching for understanding. Now, Jimmy Moore III is sharing that personal story through his book, One's Journey to Overcome the Fear of Death. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, and that whole point of overcoming the fear of something, because sometimes people live in fear and miss out on living life.
Exactly,
Right.
and that's what happened.
Yeah, let's go back to what happened. Around 8, 9 years old, you had an uncle who died violently. And so while we can mourn any death, how someone died plays a role as well.
Right.
Somebody who died getting shot makes us all feel extra vulnerable.
Right. It wasn't my first experience with death. My grandfather passed away, but illness is one thing.
And you could say, well, Grandpa was older in age, and we expect that, right?
Understandable,
Yeah.
right? But the part that I couldn't process at that age of 8, it was, he passed away so suddenly, and then having to watch your loved ones live life without their loved ones.
Yeah, because you had cousins around your age, and that was their dad.
Exactly. So just seeing the impact of all of that, it changed everything for me. I lived in a constant thought of, is this all worth it?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Even at that age, and I'm sure it just kind of grew with you. Your thoughts grew with you over time, right?
Oh, it was deep. It was dark.
Yeah.
I had moments where I would sit back and stare out over my family and just think at 8, thinking everybody's gonna pass away, and just living with that.
So oftentimes when something like this happens, parents or adults, I should say, overlook the feelings of kids. They're dealing with each other, but they don't really talk it out with their kids. And kids are good with trying to make the adults feel good. It's like, oh, I'm good, right?
Yeah.
So did anybody sit you down and talk to you about this, or did you open up to anyone at that age?
Never. Matter of fact, the funny part is I had to explain why I wrote the book.
Yeah.
Before actually, in celebrating or enjoying the fact that the book was written, because nobody knew. I never shared this with anybody, and so I grew up, and it impacted me throughout high school, junior high.
You say you were angry, detached, emotionally numb, and at times reckless.
Exactly, and it literally carried over into every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
So I had teachers that would use the word nonchalant all the time,
Yeah.
because they couldn't put their finger on what it was, but they knew that there was more in me. But they also knew that I was purposely not there in the room.
Yeah.
I was there, but not mentally there.
You said you were at one point more afraid of family members dying than yourself dying.
Exactly, 100%. My family, if it happens to you, it happens to you, and that's one thing. When you have to still remain present here on this earth and then seeing other ones carry on, that's the hard part of moving through life and moving forward. I almost felt stuck to a certain extent, and so in writing the book, I literally realized I spent 20 plus years in grief, not knowing that that's what it was, until I literally took the time to truly unpack what was going on within.
And for a lot of people, it's when a death like that happens that they can't rectify, they leave faith if they're already there.
Right.
And for others, it brings them to faith if they weren't already there. What brought you to your knees?
I'll be honest with you. I was always in church.
Yeah.
Church carried over into college, and through college I was always the kid in chapel still, but church was the ground. But after a certain point, church wasn't enough. I knew I was always going to have to take a deeper dive into this
Yeah.
this
yeah.
feeling,
Because you can
this
show
emotion.
up at church, but do you utilize what church is offering?
Yes. And I knew that the answer to this faith thing, this death, life really too, it was going to be found in the Word. And so, what brought me to my knees to answer that was the fact that God set me down and said, stop.
Yeah.
I had literally had nowhere else to turn,
Yeah.
and I had to literally just sit in this dark room by myself and scour the word in order to seek understanding as to what all of this meant, and it's death and life.
And you say you actually heard him speak to you.
100, yes. Thank you for that, because it gets glossed over a lot. It wasn't oh, the Holy Spirit touched me.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't something. I literally heard the voice of the Holy Spirit. I was asleep, and there was a light to my left, and I couldn't turn my head to the left to see this light or see what it was. But I knew something was there. It never said anything, but I knew I was awake and something was there, and I just spoke out and said, "Who's there?" And the voice said, it's me. And I said, "Who is that?" And the voice said, I'm the one you've been seeking. And I knew then, but I was thinking the voice was going to tell me Jesus.
Yeah.
But the voice said, "I am the Holy Spirit," which means something even more significant.
Yeah. I think God was like, he's not listening. I'm going to have to bump it up a notch.
Exactly.
He bumped it up a notch. And how did that impact you in your turning point and your desire to share with other people?
Well, the funny part is that was the extent of the conversation. That was all I needed.
Yeah.
That was it.
And you took it beyond.
Yeah,
right?
because I knew at that point, this is no longer just my story, and this is something that I have to give back to everyone else. I have a pastor that always says, if you're in life and you're seeking purpose, you're probably going to find it in someone else. Because we're not in this life for self-indulgence or just your own personal. You're in this life to help others.
Yeah. And that's what this book seeks to do.
And if you master something, then it's if God allows you the chance to master something, then you are supposed to give that back. Yeah. You're now the expert in it, and you're supposed to give that back to others. This
was therapeutic for you to write, but you're wanting it to be therapy for other people who are going through that tough time with loss as well and grief as well.
Yes, the book. I mean, honestly, it's a safe space. It's not going to tell you how to grieve. It's not going to tell you you're wrong to grieve. It's not going to tell you how long to grieve. It's honestly a safe space to sit, meditate in that, and also it's a path out of the grief too. The most important part of this book is chapter 9, which is Journey Through the Scriptures, and it's the longest part of the book. Honestly, if you didn't read chapter 9, it's the longest part of the book because it's the most important part. Yeah. It's the roller coaster that's climbing to its apex in that part.
All right, something everyone's going to have to pick up and utilize at some point in life. I want to end with, I know there's some people at home watching that went, didn't he go to Yates?
Yes.
He went to Yates with us. He went to, so you can say good morning to all your Yates friends.
Good morning, all of my Yates brothers and sisters.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's a tough conversation, but talking about it, just even talking about it, as we mentioned earlier, you didn't really do that in the beginning. Just talking about it is a relief in itself. So
well, I just pray it helps as many as it can.
Thank you. If you let God use you, you don't have to figure out how. All right, exactly. You can find One's Journey to Overcome the Fear of Death on Amazon.